I am Maria Garcia de Florin. How can the existence of a loving God be affirmed taking into account so many human misfortunes with natural disasters of many kinds, pandemics, violence, sicknesses? However, when we read the Bible, I think that no one can come to the conclusion that belief in a God of love is somehow incompatible with suffering. There is no doubt that God loved Noah, and yet he put him through the unspeakable test of a flood that wiped out almost all life on earth. God undoubtedly loved Abraham and yet asked him to sacrifice with his own hand his beloved son, Isaac. God loved Moses and yet prevented the great deliverer from entering the promised land. David was a man after the Lord's heart, the sweet singer of the house of Israel, and yet God punished David for his adultery and conspiracy to murder. In taking this dynamic to its maximum expression, God gave his only begotten Son to be tortured to death on a cross. There is something interesting in these and many other narratives in the Bible because the biblical authors did not see any contradiction between the affirmation of the existence of God who loves and the fact of human suffering, even undeserved human suffering. Rather, they appreciated it as mysteriously an ingredient in God's plan and proposed various schemes to understand it. For example, sometimes they speculated suffering is imposed on us as punishment for sin. Other times they thought that it could be a means by which God performs a spiritual purification in his people. Other times it could be the only way that, given the conditions of a finite universe, God can produce certain goods. The authors of the Bible also recognized that most of the time we simply do not know how suffering fits into God's design. And this is precisely because our finite and historically conditioned minds could not, even in principle, understand the infinite mind of our Lord. When Job protested against what he considered the enormous injustice of his sufferings, God responded with a long speech, in fact, his longest speech in the Bible, reminding Job how much of God's purposes his humble human servant is unaware of. Where were you when I founded the earth? I don't doubt that many today feel that suffering represents an unsurmountable obstacle to faith in God. But if human suffering undermines your faith in God, then you simply do not believe in the God presented in the Bible. Suffering, friends, is a mystery. Like Jacob, who fought all night with the angel, we must not renounce God, but fight with him. Our suffering should not lead us to dismiss divine love, but to appreciate it as something stranger than we ever imagined. It is perfectly understandable that, like Job, we shout our protest against God, but then, like the great spiritual hero, we must be willing to listen to the voice that answers us from the whirlwind because God knows more than we do, and with God, we always win.